Okay, moving right along, we are almost done with these. Today, we are getting into the Vice Admirals at Egghead and their Devil Fruit abilities. There's really only two in this group that we need to discuss. Actually, I think there's only two that really have Devil Fruit. No, Hound also has a Devil Fruit. So we have Bluegrass and Urban that have Paramecias. Tosa does not have one. Doberman does not have one. Doll did not have one. She just punched shit. That's all she needed to know how to do, right? And then there's Hound, who had a zone, but never used it, which was really funny when we found out later that Oda revealed that, right? So yes, talking about Bluegrass, Vice Admiral of the Marines, and the big sister to Suru. Yes, Suru, as in one of the most prominent Marines in the entire organization, who was like the right hand to Sengoku when he was the fleet admiral, right? Sengoku, Suru, Garp all joined at the same time, which means Bluegrass is even older than Suru. She might have been the one that like trained her and like taught her the ropes in the Marines. Suru's like 76 years old, so I'm thinking Bluegrass is well into her 80s, maybe even 90s. She might be the oldest member of the Marines, honestly. She's like this shriveled up old lady, but she'll kick your ass and then ride it. Yeah, well, you know, she has the power of the Nori Nori no Mi, the ride fruit, okay? So, this is a power that allows her to drive things or pilot things. Oda's actually changed the meaning of, like, what person you become when you eat the fruit. So initially, she called herself a driver human, all right, allowing her to drive things. And then later on in the SBS, I think Oda corrected it to piloting human, all right, which might make more sense. Driving seems to imply like a vehicle, like a car or a truck specifically. Pilot may be more of a catch-all term for just like you are controlling a particular vehicle. It doesn't necessarily have to be a vehicle with wheels. It could be a boat. It could be a plane, it could be a submarine, or it could be a giant sea beast giraffe. It could be anything, really. It could be a giant robot. It doesn't even need to be really something that could look like it moves. It could be a boulder. She could drive a boulder. What? No, sorry, that's stupid. She couldn't drive a boulder, but she could drive a rock. She could drive a rock!
Oh, the pioneers used to ride these babies for miles.
The first thing I thought of. First thing, because I was born in the 90s, and every single thing has to come back to SpongeBob SquarePants sooner or later. So immediately when I was making this video, I was like, man, this is it. This is the cartoon power of Bluegrass jumping on top of a rock and literally like... Oh, it's sticking a little bit. You know, it's been a while since someone turned this on. Oh, there we go. Listen to that baby hum. All right, here we go. All rocks are driven in stick. I don't know if you knew that. I mean, obviously they don't have automatic transmission. I need to learn how to drive a manual. I've always intended to learn how to do that. I never learned. Anyway, yeah, she's pops that into first gear and just... And that's great. It's just like those little wacky powers in One Piece that I just love, okay? So yes, the first time we see her utilize this ability is at Egghead, and all of the Mark III pacifistas are under the control of the command hierarchy. At this point, they're under the control of Jewelry Bonnie, right? So she is the one... Actually, I don't know. This might have been before, actually, Bonnie controlled it. It might have just been one of the Vegapunks. But anyway, there's that control hierarchy. Anybody with an authority chip, and then they are, like, out-controlled by Sentomaru, and then Sentomaru above him is the Vegapunks, and then above the Vegapunks are the Gorosei, okay? And we assumed that nobody had higher authority than the Gorosei. We later find out that Vegapunk did some shenanigans with the coding and allowed Bonnie to actually be the ultimate one to control the pacifistas, so she would never have to worry about being killed by something that resembled her own father, right? So what Bluegrass's ability does, the ride fruit, allows her to manipulate and control anything that she is physically riding on top of, okay? And all of the features therein. So the pacifistas are capable of firing laser beams from their hands and their mouths, and they can use the bubble shields and everything like that. She has access to all of that technology, all of that. Every feature of the object or thing or whatever she's riding on top of, she gains control over. She is the one driving it. She is the one piloting that object now. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be an object. We later see her riding on top of one of the sea beast weapons. weapons, one of the sea giraffes. And it was implied, I mean, it was explained that the sea beast weapons are not completely mechanical. They are basically cyborgs. They were taken sea monsters and then adjusted to have cybernetic parts, and it was even mentioned that it was really hard to get rid of the innate, instinct out of these animals, like with the sea beast shark that attacks the Sunny at the beginning of Egghead, right? So part of the giraffe was organic, was biological, and part of it was mechanical, and Bluegrass was able to still control it nonetheless. So I'm assuming her ability would work on people. Like if she jumped on the top of like anybody, she would be able to control them with her power, although this ultimately does come back to hockey. It was explained in the SBS 110, I believe, that it was very interesting because it expanded a little bit more on her power that we didn't know about previously, where anything in her hockey range can be controlled. So that might imply she doesn't have to physically be standing on top of or sitting on top of the thing that she's riding. It might just have to be next to her or close enough to her that her hockey can reach, okay? I have no idea what the extent of Bluegrass's hockey prowess is. She's an older lady. She's been in the Marines for a very long time. She's a vice admiral, so she absolutely has it. Is she really skilled with it to the point where she could, like, control something, several hundred meters away with her hockey? Probably not. It would probably still have to be in relative close proximity to her, but that's still an interesting thing. But also, considering the fact we are going with hockey here and how Devil Fruit abilities can be, forced back or overridden by hockey, we could have a situation where Bluegrass, jumps on top of somebody to try to control them. So, for example, I don't think this ability would work like on Kaido. Just send Bluegrass over to Wano. She will be able to take care of Kaido. She just jumps on the back of Kaido, and it's just like, I control you now. And then Kaido's like, huh? Boom! Big burst of hockey, knocks her clean off, and then there's nothing that she can do at that point, right? So I doubt she would be able to control any supremely powerful character like that, which is maybe why she sticks to like objects or machines, because that makes more sense. Like the pacifistas are strong, but they don't exhibit any hockey because they can't, because they're machines. But anything that has a will of its own could learn hockey and learn to use that ability to protect itself, okay? So it would be easier for her to manipulate robots or buildings. That would be so crazy if she jumped on top of a building, and it's very similar actually to Kujaku's whip fruit that she used at Hachinosu, where anything she whipped, she then gave an order to, and then the buildings, even though they're inanimate objects, were able to listen to her order and move around a little bit. So honestly, very similar to the way it is now, although I guess in the case with Bluegrass, it is more about physically piloting it or driving it. All right, so she jumps on top of a building. She could literally make a movement like she's piloting or driving a car or a plane or a train or something like that, and those movements would actually correspond. Like if she jumped on top of the Empire State Building and then pretended to have a steering wheel in front of her, and just the building would actually move in that direction, regardless of the fact it doesn't have wheels and it's connected to the ground, and everything like that. All of it would just get ripped out of the ground. All the pipes and everything would just get pulled along with wherever she wants to go. So there's a lot of, it's a strong devil fruit, like I said, there is hockey that could force it back and could nullify it, but just in terms of the wackiness, of the absurdity of the things that she could drive around and things like that, that's just funny to me, all right? So I actually pulled this up right here. This is a random object generator I just found, and it's going to generate 6 different random objects at a time, and you could set different categories and things like that. So the first one that came up were these ones. I like the forklift, but not actually driving the forklift with the steering wheel, although I think the ability could work that way too. Bluegrass could just steal your car in GTA, right? Bluegrass just hops into your car, you could take out the keys, but it doesn't matter. The car just starts up with her ability, and then she just drives it around, and you have been carjacked by an 88-year-old lady. So, sorry about that. The leaf blower one is really funny, though. The idea that Bluegrass, because she's, super tiny, she just jumps on the back of a leaf blower, and, a witch, one of the Sanderson sisters, is flying around on a fucking leaf blower. That would be really funny. The spring would be funny too, like a big enough spring. She's just, jumping around on like a pogo stick or something. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see, flying around on a window, a gasoline can, a license plate, an apple. See, some of these are like small enough. A wagon, like a little red wagon that she just jumps on top of and just like, all right. She's rolling down the highway at like 90 miles an hour in a little red wagon. That'd be funny. A tree, a sailboat. Oh my God, the tree would be funny. She just walks over into the forest and be like, I need a new ride. And she gets on top of the tree and just flies away on that. A flying sailboat. Well, actually, no. I don't know if she would be able to fly on these objects. Maybe I'm going the leaf blower, maybe, because the leaf blower literally outputs air. But in the case with the tree, it would still, I guess, have to be physically stuck to the ground, because I don't think she's able to do things beyond the feature of the thing that she's piloting. Okay, so like a sailboat, she could jump on top of the sailboat and command it to go wherever she wants, but she can't make the sailboat like fly to the moon or something like that. In the One Piece world, you could actually do that, but maybe she could. I'm not really sure. Okay, a rake. She rides around on a rake. Let's see, what other categories do we have here? All right, let's try this one. An iPod, a keyboard. Okay. The keyboard I could actually see as like a skateboard type thing. She takes out a keyboard, right, and just jumps on the back of that and just rides, just grinds the rails, you know what I mean? A radio would be kind of funny, a ruler, a television. Okay, yeah, riding around on a television, on a TV, that'd be really funny. Oh, a flat screen. Same deal with the keyboard. Actually, that might work better as the skateboard kind of thing. She's riding around town on a TV, on a flat screen. A mop, yeah, okay. So I think we're starting to like loop back through a lot of these. A toaster oven. Riding around on a toaster oven. That's when you're late for work and you need like a croissant or some kind of toasted breakfast pastry. You could just do that with the toaster oven. Yes. The American flag. Okay, an action figure. All right, I think we've ran the numbers on this enough. Okay. So that's her ability, though, and it's really cool. I really like that power. So this is actually a couple of fun facts here about this power. So there was a Nori Nori no Mi that existed in the One Piece franchise before Egghead, but it was in one of the premiere shows. I think the premiere show 2022, and I still need to do a video about all the different premiere shows, like the plays that they put on. They do one every year. I think COVID was the only year they didn't do one, but they've been doing every year since like 2009, and the plots of some of these are absolutely absurd. Like, the setups for some of these plots are crazy, and every single one usually introduces a Devil Fruit ability to be used in the play. So there was one that was, I can't remember the guy whose name, used it. Actually, hold on, I think I have it still pulled up here. Yeah, the user of the fruit was Hers, okay? And Hers had the ability of the Nori Nori no Mi, but it did not mean the drive fruit or the ride fruit. It was about dancing, because the term Nori Nori in Japanese means somebody that's energetic or very lively or like spins around a lot. So I guess that was his ability. The term Nori just by itself can be read with the kanji of to drive. All right. And then there's also Nori, which is like a form of like a seaweed wrapping for sushi, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, so this is, I think, the first Devil Fruit that existed non-canon that Oda did incorporate at least the name of it later in the story. Okay, it's a different power. It doesn't mean the exact same thing, but it is named the same. All right, so that's an interesting one there. Also, speaking of names, Bluegrass is named. So a lot of times, not always, and there are exceptions to this, Doll is another one, I think, is that a lot of female Marines will be given the names of like birds. So Suru means crane, and Kujaku means peacock, and Hibari, I think, is also a bird. Tashigi is also named after a bird. Itsuka from Ace's light novel, she was named after a bird. But Bluegrass, notably, is named after a musical genre, that being bluegrass, which I think is just a version of country. I have a little bit of it queued up here. Yep, there's some bluegrass for you. Yeah, I think it's just like country kind of music. It's, but that's what she's named after. Okay, maybe that's her favorite genre of music. Also, Doll has a technique called rock and roll blaster. So Bluegrass is bringing the bluegrass and Doll is bringing the rock and roll. You know, I don't know. Maybe Oda's more focusing more on musical genres now rather than naming characters after birds. It's like, oh yeah, naming them after birds, that's old hat. Let's go to music genres now. It's like, okay, whatever. We can roll with that because Bluegrass and Doll did team up, you know, during the Egghead arc and did fight together. You know, that was pretty neat. Yeah. So like I said, the only two things we've really seen her control in the context of the story are a pacifista, which is just a robot, and then one of the sea beast weapons. Okay, but yeah, I think if she shows up in the future, which I really hope she does, we're going to see a bunch of wacky stuff that she can control. And so let me know down below the different objects, the different things that Bluegrass could control. That would be really powerful. Honestly, if you really take this, could she control Pluton? If Pluton was like just an actual battleship the way that Crocodile described it as, it might not be. It might be something else, you know, because we learned that one of the ancient weapons, at least, Poseidon, is not an object. It's a person, and that's Shirahoshi, right? And so maybe Pluton is, maybe it isn't, but let's say it is just a giant, you know, fuck-off battleship with like a bunch of nuclear armaments on it or something like that, right? Could Bluegrass jump on top of that thing and control it perfectly? Also, it implies that Bluegrass would then know exactly how the thing works. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, because the Marines already knew what the pacifistas were capable of. They already knew the pacifistas could fire lasers and stuff like that and use the bubble shields. So maybe because she already knew that, when she started to control the Mark III, she's like, okay, fire a laser. I know you can do that. Or could it be a thing that when she jumps on top of it and starts controlling it, she instantly knows exactly how to pilot the thing and all of the features therein that exist? That's an interesting question, too. An awakening of this power, probably just remote control, is most likely what this is. You ever see Terminator 3? Terminator 3, the Terminator in that one, played by Kristanna Loken, has the ability to, like, you know, hijack other machines and, like, remotely control them. Like, she goes to a bunch of cars and, like, you know, messes with their circuits, you know, because every car had, like, a computer circuit in it at that point, and then, you know, can actually control the car and drive them around and attack John Connor or whatever. So I'm assuming Bluegrass could probably do something like that, right? She would probably still have to physically, well, maybe touch them or physically be in the range of the hockey, you know, so as long as it's within proximity to her, like she could be walking around a town, like a city street, and going after a criminal, and if she is awakened, which she's probably pushing 90 years old, so I don't know, man, if she's awakened yet, but if she has the power to just, like, mailbox and street lamp and trash can and everything else, just, you know, I control you, I remote control you, you know, go after the criminal, you know, and then you're stealing a bunch of money from a bank and you just look back and you just see a bunch of random ass objects going after you. You're like, oh shit. I'm being chased after, like, all the little trees planted on the side of the road, all the street lamps and everything, the buildings themselves. The bank is chasing after you. Bluegrass sees you robbing a bank. She jumps on top of the bank and just... And then the bank is chasing your ass down to get its money back. It's that shit like that, man. This is why I read One Piece. This doesn't even happen, but I could see this happening. It's in the context. Canonically, this could occur. Oh my god. Awesome. Just so cool. All right, so yeah, that's the ride power. Could she control really powerful characters? Probably not. They have stronger hockey. Could she control an ancient weapon? Could she hop on top of Punk Records and control that? Could she, if she did do that, if she jumped on top of Punk Records, would she then learn everything? Should she have complete access to Punk Records, bypassing any security protocols or password systems or retina scanners or anything that Vegapunk had programmed into it? I assume, because you know Vegapunk is smart. Vegapunk's not going to make it easy to hack into his pacifistas. In fact, the entire arc, the pacifistas were never hacked. They were working as intended with the hierarchy system he programmed into it with the authority chips, right? Every time somebody took over a pacifista other than Bluegrass, it was always through the command hierarchy. Bluegrass was the only person that was able to technically hack into the programming, bypass all the security protocols, and control that pacifista just with her Devil Fruit ability. So it goes to show that Devil Fruit powers can still override science in the One Piece world. Vegapunk really has his work cut out for him. But yeah, if she took over Punk Records, could she just access it and learn everything Vegapunk learned? Could she ride on top of Emmett, the Iron Giant? Maybe?
Did Emmett have hockey? Well, he had Joy Boy's hockey inside of him. Did he have his own hockey? Because he had his own mind, his own consciousness. These are questions. These are questions. Anyway, I'll leave you there with that. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. And next time, we're going to be talking about Urban's Barrel Nomi, or the cannon fruit. He turns into a cannon, canonically. All right. And then after that, we just have Biblos, and I'm getting some artwork made of Biblo right now for the thumbnail of that video. It's going to be really cool. So, yeah, I hopefully we'll have this. All the Paramecias will be done by November. I have a plan for the Zoans. We might have to do that like a telethon type of deal, but I will do all of the Zoan videos. We'll get those done. All right, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Teching 101, here's to all of the devil fruits by the end of 2025. I think we could make it work. Signing out.